The Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show, the greatest boat show in the world. In 1959, a group of men assembled at the War Memorial Auditorium in Fort Lauderdale. They were businessmen, mostly boat manufacturers and dealers, looking for a way to sell boats. It would become the official beginning of the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show. One of the men instrumental in getting Lauderdale on the boating map and getting the show started was the city's former mayor, Robert O. Cox. He arrived in Fort Lauderdale in the 1940s and opened Lauderdale Marina in 1948. Located across from Pier 66 on the Intercoastal Waterway, Lauderdale Marina remains today as a centerpiece to the city known as the yachting capital of the world. Cox helped revive the Marine Advisory Board, later called the Marine Industries Association, and helped start the show. There were 13 exhibitors at that first Fort Lauderdale Boat Show. As the governing body of the show, the Marine Industries Association added of Broward County to the name in 1967. This later became, as it remains today, the Marine Industries Association of South Florida. Over the first 50 years, the Association of Marine Businesses has grown to over 800 members, helping ensure that family recreational boating continues to be a safe and enjoyable sport. As it has since inception in 1959, the MIASF still owns the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show. No one could have figured that 50 years later this show would carry the label of the greatest boat show in the world by displaying over 1,400 exhibits and admitting enough people on Saturday to fill every seat in a modern-day football stadium. Coincidentally, back in 1959, the first Hatteras was built in North Carolina, and this company continues to be a strong and loyal supporter of the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show. The show in its second year was moved to Pier 66. 20 exhibitors displayed products both on land and in the water. It was known at that time as the Fort Lauderdale Marine Association Boat Show. Ronnie Stroud and John B. Allen of Pier 66 produced what the Fort Lauderdale newspaper called a marine wonderland. In the beginning, the show was directed and staffed by a boat show committee, all volunteers. No admission was charged. Initially, there weren't even any exhibitor fees. Pier 66 wasn't busy in the summer and relinquished space for the show during those years at no charge. Promotions for the show included bathing beauties, with beauty pageant contestants in attendance. Advertising included a motor yacht used as a floating billboard, traveling back and forth to New England on the Intercoastal Waterway, encouraging people to come on down for the show. By 1970, more exhibit space was needed, so the show moved to Port Everglades for 3 years, sharing space with cruise lines like the Queen Mary. The official name of the show was now the Marine Industry Association Summer Boat Show, and for the first time charged an admission fee. This new facility featured inside air-conditioned space, an undercover outdoor patio, vast outdoor display areas, and advertised in-water exhibitions of yachts 40 feet and over. Across town, a little-known event taking place would eventually change the course and nature of this show. 2 men purchased a shipyard on the New River in Fort Lauderdale. One had boat rigging experience, and his partner had mobile home and equipment leasing experience. This partner's name was Kay Pearson, and he would become heavily involved with the Marine Industries Association shortly thereafter. By 1973, the show was looking for more indoor exhibit space and moved briefly to the High Life Fronton in Dania. However, this location lacked one key element: water. In 1974 and 1975, the show was held at the downtown municipal docks on New River, with boats displayed on both sides of the river by 1975. 1976 was a monumental year and a new beginning for the event. Kay Pearson took over as producer and manager with his newly formed company, Yachting Promotions, better known as Show Management. Working closely with the president of the MIA Show Committee, Gordon Hauser, 3 major changes were influential in its current success. First, the show was renamed the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show. Second, show dates were moved to the fall after manufacturers had released New Year production models. Third, the show moved to its current location, the Bahia Mar Resort and Yachting Center. Other changes were coming as well, some immediate, others over the next few years. Looking to help promote the show and create a better atmosphere for everyone, a more complete advertising campaign was created. For the first time, a boat show program was implemented. To better accommodate land exhibitors, a huge circus-style big-top tent was erected in the parking lot. Early versions were cumbersome. Huge electric fans were installed to circulate the air. Fluorescent lighting graced the numerous poles inside. There were 103 exhibitors that first year at Bahia Mar. As an initial promotion, an outboard-powered Mako powerboat was placed in the pool. The on-site food court was upgraded to include more of an island cuisine. A raw bar was added and conch fritters were available, making it tougher to find the traditional boat show hot dog. But you can still find them, and in fact over 3,000 pounds of them are still selling per show. A daycare tent, Children's Happenings, was created. This meant families with kids could drop off their little ones while they searched for their dream machines. Fishing clinics were added and became a hit for all genders. Early ones were sponsored by Saltwater Sportsman magazine, with fishing pros such as Rip Cunningham, George Poveromo, and Mark Sosin teaching people how to fish. Fashion shows were popular. Some appeared during the day hours and some while the show was open at night. They were a mainstay for a lot of years. Some of you may even recall one in 1981, as former industry leaders such as Les Aberley of Showboats and Jim Ramsey of Motorboating and Sailing were used as models. And if you look behind Jim, you'll catch a glimpse of the MC that year, back when my hair was a tad darker. Various types of bands were brought in for entertainment. Tommy Mercer, with his big band sound, went on to become a fixture at the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show for many years. Bahamian steel drum bands still remain popular today. And who could forget the Low Tides, a band featuring industry members moonlighting as wannabe rock stars. Yachting Magazine sponsored a floating cocktail barge, which was strategically placed in the center of the show. At the beginning, it was only open to exhibitors. In the following years, it would be upgraded to much larger versions, welcoming everyone, with much larger sponsors like Bacardi and Budweiser. There were diving clinics, cooking classes, even a songbook printed in 1979. An exhibitor's party was instituted, one which everyone wanted to attend. It was the place to be until it grew so large the crowd couldn't fit in the room any longer. In the early years, different forms of entering the party were devised, sliding down a slide, even crawling through a cage, all culminating in a costume party which coincided with Halloween. If you didn't have a costume, you could at least get your face painted. Entertainment was abundant. There were not only clowns, but palm readers as well. And as a finishing touch at the close of the show, champagne was delivered to all exhibitors. 1979 was celebrated at the show with the slogan 2030. It was the 20th anniversary of the show and the 30th anniversary of Bahia Mar. Life was good. And then came 1982. Contract disputes and misunderstandings forced the show to move back to Port Everglades, where the show had left 10 years before. This time, floating docks covered the deep sub-turning basin with a large share of exhibits inside Passenger Terminal 19. To say that rough weather moved in was an understatement. There was a constant surge from the north pushing the floating docks and water displays back against the seawall. A local dealer, Richard Bertram and Company, had a white Ferrari on the docks as a promotional incentive. The docks looked like piano keys in the rough water. A local TV network actually waited around to see if the car would slide off and sink. Barges were moved in to slow down the surge, but to no avail. On Sunday, the show was canceled. The following year, 1983, the show was back at Bahia Mar where it would once again flourish. And that it has. The show was now growing in size. In 1984, a few docks were added on the north side of Bahia Mar as the show celebrated its silver anniversary. By 1985, only 1 year later, the entire docks on the north side were utilized by the show. Most of the sailboats relocated from the southeast corner to the northwest corner of the show. There were over 900 exhibits at that Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show. The big top tent was now history, being replaced by a number of longer, skinnier tents which were easier to cool. The main entrance moved from the north side of the show to a location where it remains today, although it's had a few different looks to it. The show was gaining worldwide stature, being referred to as the greatest show on water and as America's most entertaining boat show. Guy Harvey was recruited to provide cover artwork for the program in 1988. Counting that first cover, Guy has provided 18 covers as of the 50th anniversary edition. By 1989, mega yachts were becoming prevalent at the show, and this was the first year they began to dock med-style. In 1991, more undercover exhibit space was needed, and the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show added its second location, the Fort Lauderdale Convention Center. Along with boats and accessory exhibits, an international sport fishing exposition was added, and in years to come would become very popular with actual real bass fishing and a section set aside for pros to teach fly casting. Accessory exhibitor rooms upstairs were filled as well. By 1993, Pier 66 was taken over as part of the show, 33 years since the in-water show began there back in 1960. Another change took place in 1993. An additional cocktail barge was added on the north side of Bahia Mar. As of the 50th anniversary show, there were 4 major cocktail barges and 8 Bud Girl stands on the show grounds. All combined, serving more than 100,000 cups of beer, and none of it after dark. The following year, what was called at that time the Marriott Marina was added. This is the area on the west side of the Intercoastal Waterway across from Pier 66. Despite the added space, dockage for the show was still in demand. In 1995, the Hall of Fame docks on the south side, along with some floating docks on the west side of the Yacht's International Pavilion, were included. By the next year, the north side of the Hall of Fame docks became part of the show, and in 1998, the Las Olas Municipal Marina was taken over. The show was now so lengthy that a swing bridge was necessary to accommodate local boat traffic. As of the 50th anniversary show, 6 separate distinct areas encompass the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show. Remote parking is serviced by dedicated buses, 300 passenger riverboats, and numerous water taxis. A separate terminal facility on the west side of Bahia Mar was added just to handle the arrival by water attendants. But the show was still growing. In 1999, a second row of docks was added on the north side of the Hall of Fame Marina, and an outside tent was added to the convention center to handle even more exhibitors. Yet, the success of this show wouldn't be possible without the innovations created by this show. To begin with, floating docks and weatherproof accessory exhibits are a necessity. Up until the show began at Bahia Mar, floating docks weren't even used. But over the years, Electrical power stations, including water outlets and internet service, has been implemented to these floating docks. Yet the best feature? They are completely unsinkable. However, the true innovation which literally came from the show was the evolution of the clear span tent. In other words, a tent with no poles in the middle. One was erected at the show which would become the forerunner to the super yacht builders and designers tent. The trick was to build a stable structure without support poles that could withstand wind and heavy rain. And it meant the introduction of a white blackout fabric on the ceiling and sides to reduce heat. The early versions had roll-up or push-aside curtains in case of rain. Now there are glass window sides, glass hinged doors, and central air. Certainly the beneficiaries of this technology have been worldwide exhibitors. The first builders and designers clear span tent was tiny compared to today. This one measures 164 by 362 feet, even larger than an American football field. And the number of elegant displays are only exceeded by the number of mega yachts present. In fact, the 50th anniversary show featured 155 mega yachts, each over 100 feet long. Tent technology has spread throughout the grounds. They all get the red carpet treatment, have comfortable surroundings, and all but one have a climate-controlled atmosphere. Exhibitor displays have evolved immensely as well. The early days of simple tent structures have been replaced with fully functional floating offices and elaborately designed showrooms, which are as attractive on the inside as they are on the outside. By the 50th anniversary Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show, tents covered approximately 7 acres. Watch now as time-lapse photography shows the construction of the super yacht builders and designers tent, plus the assembly of floating docks as they're launched and towed to their location. Amazingly, there are over 5 miles of floating docks and barges used in this show. Pay close attention, and you'll even see where the glass door entrance on the tent had to be relocated. Ever wonder what happens when bad weather occurs for show setup, such as in 2005? Hurricane Wilma came through a few days before the show was set to open. Here's what you probably didn't see, the morning after the storm went through. Before Wilma hit, most of the structures were up and intact. In most cases, only the fabric was removed to prepare for the storm. However, once the storm passed, this is the mess that had to be rebuilt. Sand was everywhere. The show had to be moved back a week. Permits redone. The convention center had another exhibit moving in, so a few deals had to be made. As proof that the show was actually going to happen, progressive photography was taken daily and then featured on the internet. Notice the strip trees, but the number of boats that still exhibited. This hasn't been the only storm the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show has weathered. The show faced an oil embargo in 1974, more commonly referred to as the energy crisis. But this didn't stop the show or prevent the show again in 1975. A successful show was staged only a few weeks after Black Monday in 1987. The luxury tax imposed on boat buyers for 2 years in the early 90s. That didn't stop show attendance either. As badly as things were on 9/11 and the weeks that followed, the show opened on time the following month. In fact, people welcome the opportunity to come out and dream again. Recessions? This show has been through more than just a few. But history has shown us that the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show has always rebounded from adversity in stellar fashion. From a media standpoint, this show continues to draw people from all over the world. From what started in 1959 with a few exhibitors here in Florida, has grown to attract people from all over the United States, North America, Mexico, England, Spain, and Italy, France, Germany, Australia, South America, Japan, Taiwan, China, most all of Europe, the Middle East, Scandinavian countries, Russia, and the rest of the world. This show continues to have national exposure on The Early Show, The Today Show, and Good Morning America, as well as international exposure on CNBC, Fox News, ESPN, Reuters, even the Travel Channel. Expanded print coverage includes the New York Times, Forbes, and the Wall Street Journal, to name a few. Things have changed just a little since the early days, when the show only received extensive coverage from local publications, like Gondolier and Southern Boating magazine. What started out as a small trailer with press kits covering the floor has now evolved into a 2-room press area in the Bahia Mar Resort and Yachting Center. Press credentials are issued annually to over 500 local, national, and international media reps. People from all walks of life have frequented the show. There have been visits from foreign country dignitaries as well as presidents. Celebrities from pro sports such as football, basketball, baseball, hockey, and golf. Race car teams, rock stars, movie stars. After all, there's plenty to see. Each year, this show sells more beer than the Super Bowl. It measures almost 9/10 of a mile stretching from north to south. And it forces aerial photography of the entire show to be taken from over 3,000 feet overhead. All of us connected with this spectacular event hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and we look forward to seeing you at the next Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show.